Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic Shahada channel. Italy, a country long celebrated as the epicenter of Catholic tradition and Renaissance glory, is quietly undergoing a spiritual transformation. Behind the majestic architecture of centuries-old cathedrals and the rhythmic chime of church bells lies a changing religious landscape that few outside observers notice. Islam is steadily emerging as a significant part of modern Italian society, not through conquest, coercion, or controversy, but through faith, sincere, personal, and deeply human. From Rome to Milan, from Turin to Bologna, Muslim communities are growing, shaping the new face of religion in Italy. This rise of Islam in Italy reflects broader trends across Europe, where migration, cultural exchange, and individual spiritual journeys have led millions to explore the message of Islam. Among them are not only immigrants, but also native Italians who, through study, dialogue, and reflection, have chosen to convert to Islam. This is the story of a quiet transformation, a shift not often seen but deeply felt in the heart of Catholic Europe. In the heart of Southern Europe, Italy is witnessing a quiet yet significant religious transformation. Today, Islam is firmly established as the second largest religion in Italy, following Roman Catholicism. As of 2024, the Muslim population in Italy is estimated to be approximately 2.7 million people, representing around 4.8% of the country's total population. This growth is not only demographic, it is also cultural, social, and spiritual in nature, and it reflects the evolving landscape of religion in Italy. The presence of Muslims in Italy has grown steadily over the past few decades, primarily due to immigration from predominantly Muslim countries such as Morocco, Albania, Tunisia, Egypt, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. However, beyond immigration, the rise of second-generation Muslims, children born and raised in Italy to immigrant parents, has become a key factor in the consolidation of Islam in Italian society. These individuals are fluent in the language, integrated in local schools and workplaces, and are increasingly confident in expressing both their Islamic faith and Italian cultural identity. The geographical concentration of Muslims in Italy is largely centered in four main regions: Lombardia, Piemonte, Emilia-Romagna, and Lazio. In Lombardia, particularly in the city of Milan, Islam has become part of the urban rhythm. Mosques, Islamic cultural centers, halal markets, and educational initiatives reflect the daily lives of thousands of Muslims. In Piemonte, especially Turin, Muslim communities are deeply involved in social initiatives and interfaith dialogue. Emilia-Romagna and Lazio, including the capital Rome, have also seen rapid growth in Muslim populations, accompanied by the emergence of local leaders, scholars, and organizations committed to building bridges between communities. According to the Pew Research Center's The Future of World Religions report, Islam in Italy is projected to grow further in the coming decades, not only due to migration, but also because of relatively higher birth rates among Muslim families compared to the national average. Supporting this trend, the Italian National Institute of Statistics, ISTAT, provides updated data confirming the steady increase in Muslim residents across multiple regions. Meanwhile, the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights, FRA, highlights both the growing presence of Islam in Italy and the societal challenges that often accompany it, including issues related to religious freedom, discrimination, and representation in public life. Despite these challenges, the Muslim community in Italy is becoming more visible, organized, and proactive. Initiatives aimed at building mosques, Islamic schools, and cultural associations are spreading across the country. Though many of these efforts face bureaucratic and political hurdles, especially due to the lack of a formal agreement between the Italian state and Islamic organizations, the persistence and resilience of the Muslim population continue to shape the national conversation on identity, citizenship, and faith. Islam's growth in Italy today is a reflection of broader changes occurring throughout Western Europe. As Muslim populations become increasingly integrated while maintaining their religious values, Italy stands at a crossroads between tradition and transformation. The future of Islam in Italy is not just a question of numbers, it is a story of people, families, and communities who are reshaping the spiritual and cultural fabric of a modern European nation. To understand the current presence of Islam in Italy, we must first look back through the lens of history. The relationship between Islam and Italy did not begin in the 20th century. It reaches as far back as the medieval period, when the Mediterranean was not just a cultural divide, but a bridge of trade, diplomacy, and exchange between Christian Europe and the Muslim world. During the Middle Ages, Muslim merchants, scholars, and travelers frequently interacted with Italian city-states such as Venice, Genoa, and Amalfi. These early connections introduced elements of Arabic science, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy into the Italian intellectual tradition, a legacy that would later help ignite the European Renaissance. In southern Italy and Sicily, the historical presence of Islam was even more direct. Following the Arab conquest of Sicily in the 9th century, the island became part of the Islamic world for over 2 centuries. During this time, Islamic rule brought architectural innovation, agricultural development, and religious coexistence. Though Christian forces eventually reclaimed the territory during the Norman conquest, traces of Islamic influence remained embedded in Sicilian culture, language, and art. Fast forward to the modern era, and a new chapter of Islam in Italy began to unfold. The 20th century, particularly the post-colonial period after World War II, marked a significant shift in Europe's demographic landscape. Starting in the 1980s, Italy experienced a sharp increase in immigration from Muslim-majority countries, a trend that would forever change the religious makeup of the nation. Economic opportunities and political instability in North Africa and the Balkans drove large-scale migration to Italy. Moroccans, Tunisians, and Albanians became some of the earliest and largest Muslim communities in the country. Soon after, immigrants from Egypt, Pakistan, and Bangladesh followed, seeking work and stability in Italian cities and rural towns alike. This wave of migration did more than shift population figures. It reshaped the spiritual and cultural fabric of Italy. What was once a largely homogeneous Catholic society began to accommodate new religious traditions, particularly Islam, which arrived not only through foreign labor, but also through the aspirations of families seeking to raise children in a new land without losing their faith. According to data from Eurostat, the European Union's Statistical Office, the growth of Muslim populations in Italy over the past 4 decades has been steady and substantial. And as emphasized by scholar Jocelyn Cesari in her seminal work Islam in Europe, the Italian experience reflects a broader pattern across the continent, where Muslim presence is deeply intertwined with Europe's colonial past, economic evolution, and modern identity struggles. Yet unlike in France or the UK, where former colonial ties led to earlier and more structured Muslim integration, Italy's relationship with its Muslim population is newer and, in many ways, still evolving. Without a historical framework of legal accommodation, Italy has had to confront the challenges of pluralism more abruptly. From religious recognition to mosque construction, these issues have become key flashpoints in the public debate on immigration, national identity, and religious freedom. Nonetheless, the historical roots of Islam in Italy, both ancient and modern, remind us that this relationship is neither foreign nor recent. It is embedded in centuries of contact, conflict, and coexistence. And today, as the Muslim community in Italy grows and matures, it draws strength not only from faith, but from a long-standing legacy that has shaped the nation in ways both seen and unseen. Despite the steady growth of the Muslim population in Italy, many Muslims still face significant challenges related to identity, visibility, and religious freedom. Since the events of September 11th, Islam in Italy, like in much of Europe, has often been viewed through the lens of security and suspicion. This shift in perception has contributed to a climate where Muslims are frequently stereotyped, marginalized, or treated with distrust. Reports such as the European Islamophobia Report, 2023, highlight the persistence of discrimination in several areas of daily life: employment, housing, education, and access to public services. Women who wear the hijab often encounter additional barriers in the workplace or in schools, while visibly Muslim men report experiences of racial profiling and biased policing. One of the most pressing issues is the lack of recognized Islamic places of worship. Italy has a relatively low number of officially registered mosques compared to its Muslim population. In many cities, Muslims rely on informal prayer spaces, known as musalla, which are typically located in garages, warehouses, or converted basements. These makeshift mosques are often unregulated, and their existence highlights the legal and social constraints on public Islamic worship in Italy. This situation is further complicated by resistance from local authorities who often refuse to grant building permits for new mosques, citing zoning issues or local opposition. As a result, Muslims find themselves in a paradox, present in Italian society, yet often rendered invisible when it comes to religious infrastructure and public expression. However, there is a growing movement among young Italian Muslims to redefine what it means to be both Muslim and Italian. These are second-generation citizens, born and raised in Italy, who speak the language fluently, participate in civil society, and see no contradiction between their faith and their national identity. For them, Islam is not a foreign element, but a personal and cultural reality rooted in the Italian context. In recent years, these young voices have begun to speak out, organizing cultural events, advocating for legal recognition, and pushing back against stereotypes. They are lawyers, doctors, teachers, artists, and activists who want to be seen not as outsiders, but as contributors to Italian society. They represent a new chapter in the story of Islam in Italy, confident, engaged, and unapologetically plural. Media coverage by outlets like BBC News Italia and the local IT has documented this generational shift, highlighting efforts by young Muslims to foster interfaith dialogue, promote civic participation, and build inclusive communities. Despite political rhetoric from far-right groups that often targets Muslims, this new generation continues to assert their rightful place in Italian life. Their journey is not without difficulty. Islamophobia remains a serious concern, and structural barriers continue to limit full integration. Yet, there is also hope, seen in the resilience of families, the determination of students, and the quiet persistence of those who continue to pray, work, and dream in a country they call home. Today, Islam in Italy is not just surviving, it is evolving. It is being redefined by those who live it every day, in classrooms, in workplaces, and in neighborhoods across the country. It is an identity that bridges cultures, challenges prejudices, and affirms the possibility of a shared future. One in which being Muslim and being Italian are not in conflict, but in harmony. In the summer of 2005, an extraordinary and deeply moving event quietly unfolded, far from the limelight of global media coverage, yet it would become a profound turning point in the life of one man. A Catholic priest from Italy, whose name was never officially disclosed, found himself unexpectedly captivated by something he saw on television. It was not a theological debate or a religious ceremony. It was a royal funeral, one that was unlike anything he had ever seen before. The funeral in question was that of King Fahd of Saudi Arabia. As one of the most powerful figures in the Muslim world, one might expect a lavish, state-sponsored farewell with elaborate rituals and displays of wealth. But what the Italian priest witnessed on satellite TV defied all expectations. There was no pomp, no gold-laden casket, no military parade. Instead, the funeral was remarkably simple. The king's body was wrapped in a plain white shroud and laid on the ground, just like any ordinary Muslim man. This profound image deeply touched the priest. Years of theological study and exposure to books about Islam had never stirred such emotion in him. But here, in the silent humility of a Muslim burial, something shifted inside. He later said, "I had read several Islamic books. They never moved me. But the simple royal funeral shook me and changed my mind." For him, the moment was more than just symbolic. It revealed something essential about the Islamic worldview, a deep and uncompromising belief in equality before God. In Islam, death strips away all worldly titles, status, and wealth. Whether king or peasant, rich or poor, all are returned to the earth in the same manner, with humility, simplicity, and surrender to the Creator. This moment became the catalyst for his conversion to Islam, a private spiritual awakening that would later be shared publicly by Saudi Islamic scholar Dr. Abdullah al-Malik during a lecture. According to al-Malik, the priest reached out to Muslim scholars shortly after the funeral, seeking guidance. In time, he officially embraced Islam. While his name remains unknown, his story has been preserved in public memory thanks to reports by Arab News and Gulf News, published in August 2005. This quiet conversion resonated deeply within the global Muslim community and beyond. It highlighted the profound emotional power of Islamic teachings, not through debate or coercion, but through action, humility, and symbolism. It also underscored the universal message of Islam, that human dignity does not come from material possessions or social rank, but from one's relationship with God and one's sincerity in life and death. The case of this Italian Catholic priest converting to Islam is also significant within the broader context of religious conversions in Europe. As the Muslim population grows and interfaith dialogues become more common, personal journeys like this one offer a glimpse into how Islam continues to touch hearts across different cultures and backgrounds. Italy, in particular, has seen a gradual yet steady increase in religious conversions to Islam, many of which are driven by personal experiences, philosophical exploration, and admiration for the values of justice, humility, and unity found in Islamic teachings. The priest's journey stands as a testament to how the core rituals of Islam, even something as solemn as a funeral, can leave a lasting impression on a soul in search of truth. His story invites reflection, not only among Muslims but also among those of other faiths, on the nature of mortality, equality, and what it truly means to live a life of spiritual purpose. Ultimately, his conversion reminds us that faith is not always born from books or argument, but from the quiet, unexpected moments where the human heart encounters something deeply real. The simple funeral of a king became the spark for a spiritual transformation, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful expressions of religion are the ones spoken without words. Italy has quietly witnessed the rise of several influential figures who have embraced Islam, not only as a faith, but as a framework for thought, identity, and public engagement. One of the most notable cases is that of Torquato Cardilli, a seasoned Italian diplomat who served as ambassador to Saudi Arabia. On November 15, 2001, Cardilli officially converted to Islam, a decision that sent ripples through diplomatic and media circles in both Italy and the Arab world. His conversion was not the result of a single emotional moment, but rather a long and deliberate intellectual journey. In his own words, Cardilli stated, "I am fully convinced of the truth of Islam through my reading of the Quran." For him, the Quran was not merely a religious book, it was a comprehensive worldview, a philosophical guide that answered the deeper questions of life, justice, and human purpose. His transformation marked one of the most prominent cases of a Western diplomat converting to Islam in the 21st century. Another influential figure is Hamza Roberto Picardo, perhaps one of the best-known Muslim leaders in Italy today. Once a devout Catholic, Picardo embraced Islam in the late 20th century. Over the years, he has become a central figure in Italy's Islamic landscape, serving as a translator of the Quran into Italian and actively promoting dialogue between Muslims and the broader Italian society. He is also a founding member of Unione delle Comunità Islamiche d'Italia, UCOI, one of the country's most influential Islamic organizations. Then there is Yahya Sergio Yahe Pallavicini, a Sufi imam and spiritual leader known for his balanced and deeply intellectual approach to Islamic thought. As the vice president of Coreus, Comunità Religiosa Islamica Italiana, Pallavicini represents a strand of Islam in Italy that emphasizes moderation, integration, and interfaith dialogue. A convert himself, he was raised in a family of mixed heritage, with early exposure to Islamic spirituality through his father, Abd al-Wahid Pallavicini, who was also a prominent Sufi leader. These figures, Cardilli, Picardo, and Pallavicini, reflect the diversity within the Italian Muslim community. Each came to Islam through different paths, one through diplomacy and intellectual inquiry, another through activism and social engagement, and the third through spiritual introspection and heritage. But all share a commitment to presenting Islam not as something foreign or in conflict with Italian identity, but as something compatible with universal values of justice, ethics, and transcendence. Their stories are not isolated. They mirror a broader pattern emerging across Europe, where educated individuals, including artists, academics, and diplomats, are converting to Islam after careful study and personal reflection. While public debates in Italy often focus on immigration and integration, these high-profile conversions challenge the narrative that Islam is a foreign or imported religion. Instead, they suggest that Islam is becoming increasingly rooted in the European experience. As Italy continues to wrestle with questions of identity, multiculturalism, and secularism, these individuals stand as powerful examples of how faith can transcend cultural and national boundaries. Their lives contribute to reshaping the public perception of Islam in Italy, not as a threat, but as a lived faith tradition that resonates with the hearts and minds of many. Through their voices, writings, and leadership, they offer a nuanced portrayal of what it means to be both Muslim and Italian in the modern age. And their presence is a reminder that Islam in Italy is not only growing in numbers, but also in depth, intellect, and social influence. The story of a nameless Catholic priest, deeply moved by the quiet dignity of a royal funeral, serves as a powerful reminder that the path to faith is not always paved with grand declarations or public debates. Sometimes, the most profound spiritual transformations happen in silence, in the quiet recesses of the heart, triggered not by argument, but by humility. In this case, it was the simplicity of an Islamic funeral that touched a soul more deeply than any theological book or formal discourse ever had. This quiet conversion reflects a broader, often unseen spiritual shift taking place across Italy. While headlines may focus on politics and policies, beneath the surface, individual journeys of discovery and truth continue. Stories of people embracing Islam in Italy, diplomats, intellectuals, artists, even members of the clergy, speak to the enduring power of sincerity and contemplation. These are not conversions born of impulse or trend, but of study, experience, and a search for meaning. As Islam continues to grow in Italy, it does so not only through numbers, but through the depth of conviction in those who find peace in its teachings. For many, embracing Islam is not a rejection of their cultural roots, but an expansion of their spiritual identity, one that unites rather than divides, that seeks truth beyond boundaries. This ongoing spiritual evolution across Italy may not always make headlines, but it reshapes lives, quietly, steadily, and profoundly. And in that silence, far from the noise of politics or prejudice, something sacred takes root. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.